Hollies! Welcome to Not Departing Ordinary. I'm your host, Bethania. I'm so happy to have you back for season 2. A lot of work went into this. Upgrading gear, learning to edit, improving with filmmaking, refining interviewing techniques, providing more valuable learnings, and so much more. So with that being said, before we jump into this episode, I would love it if you could like, subscribe, and comment on this video with what you most like and what you want to see more of. Thanks for your support. Now let's dive in. On today's episode, we will hear from Abigail from Radical Movement about her journey with surf, skate, yoga, and photography. Vamos! Welcome to Not Departing Ordinary.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
So let's get started and jump in. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling everyone a little bit about you?
Surely. All right. Hey guys, my name is Abigail. I'm based here in San Diego, California. And what I do just on my daily is I'm a yoga teacher, a professional photographer, and a model. And along with that, I kind of tie it all together with my business. It's called Radical Movement Collective, and it's a women-founded collective that is just really solely focused on bringing women together, whether it's through surfing, skating, hiking, art, music. We just love to have community together and share that space to meet new friends, as well as just anything we want to challenge ourselves in or just go get in the water. So that's what I've been up to lately, and we're just planning a bunch of events this month as well as some retreats for the upcoming future, which I'm super stoked about. And yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you decided to start that project and how it's grown since its inception.
Yeah. So I've always been super inspired by the other women's communities that there are, and not being from California, I'm originally from New Jersey. So at first, when you're just moving from a new place, and just San Diego in general, I feel like there's so many people that are not from here, to find a space that you can meet friends that also have the same values as you, as well as maybe the same interests. So that was a really big inspiration for me, to create a collective of that to bounce ideas off of, but also I just wanted some girlfriends that I could go and surf and skate with. So I just wanted some homies that I vibed with, because sometimes it is really hard meeting people, and even sometimes girls out in the lineup, as a surfer, sometimes I don't know, some girls aren't as nice as you're trying to be as well. I don't know how to put it. Yeah. There's a lot of competitivity out in the lineup sometimes, and I just wanted to create that safe place for everyone. No, I see you, and we're cool. We're in this together. We're out here just having fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel normally there's 3 girls in the lineup at most, and you're hey, we should be friends, and half of the time it's no, don't talk to me.
Yeah. Sometimes you're okay, we're best friends now, or they're why are you smiling at me? You're sorry.
Try to smile less.
You could go for that wave. Yeah, it's definitely it stinks, but yeah, so we're just Radical Movement is literally just trying to create that space so you can just be together with people. We just created a t-shirt this past fall. It's called You Can Surf With Us, and it's just that, you can fucking surf with us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I really like that. I feel there's so much, I don't know if it's stigma or just like gatekeepery vibes around surfing. And I don't know if you've noticed this. I engage with a lot of surf content, and people are always like, freaking kooks, like, you can't do this, you can't do that, like, if you do this, like, nobody likes you. And there's so much like trying to like guard it that it makes it feel like it's not okay to be a beginner or, you know, learn.
Yeah, I definitely see that a lot, like, especially during COVID, like, everyone picked up a new sport, like, you know, like, no matter where you are, like, I feel like everyone is trying something new, and there's always a learning curve in something, so, like, I encourage people, like, don't let it scare you if you're really bad at first. Like, you can't just try something and be super good. But then there are also people in the lineup who make it even more discouraging, you know, instead of like telling you like, hey, don't ditch your board. Like, this is how you should do it, you know? And that's like kind of the space we're trying to create of like educational wise. 'Cause like, don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty seasoned surfer, and if there's surf etiquette and safety to the water so people don't get hurt, right?
Yeah.
Which is super important. But as a beginner, like, you're not really taught that. Like, you get your first surfboard and no one tells you the way of the water, you know? And like, no one tells you where to go, where a beginner spot is, or even how to like safely dismount a board, or, you know? So it's like, no one's there to tell you. And honestly, like, what we would like to do with Radical Movement down the road is just have like a little educational pamphlet kind of that you could like Google or YouTube of just like, hey, this is how you turtle or duck dive or whatever it is. 'Cause like, I have been out surfing and like, I have gotten mad at beginners like before, and what I've worked on and just humbling myself is like, okay, I do get a little mad and I might say something that I probably shouldn't have, but then I calm myself down and I go back and I'm like, hey, this is how you do it. And I honestly, I show up, that's happened to me like twice where I'll get angry because they almost took my head off. But then I went up to them and was like, hey, I'm sorry. And let me teach you, you know, because that's all like anyone wants is to be taught, you know, and to actually like be taught by someone, especially when it's not like a partner, like you receive it a lot better. So that's what I've been moving forward in, is just like, you can't get mad at people, like they don't know, you know. And for like the culture to just like get so mad, like we can't do that. Like, it's not helpful, you know, to the people who want to work, and it just shuts them down and makes them feel small too. So
well, I think I get it, because it's like, if you're going for a wave and then it gets messed up or whatever, you're like, I waited so long for that. But at the same time, it's like, everyone starts as a beginner. And I actually had this happen down at the cliffs where I didn't know that I was sitting at the peak and I was like in everyone's way. And this guy just like yelled at me, like lost his mind. And I was like, hey, you could be mad, or you could instruct me on how to not piss you off again. And he was like, ah! And then eventually he paddled back over to me. He's like, okay, you're sitting on the peak and like, you're always going to be in the way. Like, you see the water right here, like, don't sit there, and then you're going to be fine. And I was like, cool, I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. And then now you know, like, moving forward, it's like, how are you supposed to know? Like, the ocean is a whole nother ballgame, you know?
I think that's like what makes surfing so hard and so rewarding at the same time. It's like, there's so many things to be paying attention to simultaneously that it takes your brain hours and hours and hours to be able to focus on this thing and focus on this thing and focus on this thing all at the same time. And be able to do it well. And so when you get to that level, you're like, oh my God, like, how did I literally change like the wiring of my brain in order to do this? And it's like, I don't know. Like, it feels like it has to be like the hardest sport that exists.
It definitely, there's a lot of moving pieces. But
absolutely. How long have you been surfing, and why did you get into surfing?
I got into surfing, I just like grew up around the surf culture in the East Coast, and I just always looked up to the surfer girls. I was like, I want to be a surfer girl. Like, I don't know, just like the vibe and the lifestyle. I was like, that's so rad. So I really just like looked up to it, just growing up around it. And then I started surfing when I was about 9, but being the winter time, like I only really surfed in the summertime, and then high school I got like my first wetsuit and like some gear and stuff, where I would surf till about Thanksgiving and then back in the spring. So it was like not like full, it was just expensive to surf like full head to toe in like a 543 and stuff like that when yeah, so that's actually why I picked up photography.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, you guys can go out. I was like, you boys can go out and I'll stay on the beach and shoot. So that's actually why, as a surf photographer, that's how I got into it. It's just being in the wintertime, like sitting in the snow with like a tripod, like shooting the boys. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you started doing that?
I was about 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have like quite a few years under your belt, both with surfing and with photography.
Yeah, definitely a lot more with photography. Surfing, I've had some on and off moments, you know, it's definitely, you're like, I quit, I'm never surfing again. And you have those moments until you really just like, now I'm at the place of like, I'm very confident in my surfing, you know, where it's like when, like we were talking about earlier, when you're having that learning curve and then it finally clicks, like before that learning curve, you don't know what days. Some days you're like, I just had the best surf session ever. And then some days you're like, okay, I'm crying. I didn't catch one wave. And like, you sat for 2 hours.
Yes.
So it happens, typical. You know? Yeah, but my surf sessions have definitely changed from that. But yeah.
When, I guess like after how long did you feel like you moved past that plateau of like frustration with your surfing?
It was probably like 3 years, honestly.
Yeah.
It took me about 3 years. And like at first, like, so I'm a skateboarder, like I started skateboarding first, before I really got into surfing. So if like the waves were too big or just like slightly out of my comfort zone, I was like, I'm just gonna go skate. And like, you know, like skating was definitely more of my comfort zone and like being in the bowl and stuff. So I was like, then when I decided, I was like, no, you're like, you want to get better. Like I was surfing a lot already, like probably twice a week, maybe 3 times, but just like maybe inconsistently, you know? So it wasn't until I really started surfing like 3 years consistently that it got a lot better, and just like now I'm really comfortable out there. So yeah.
Was there something that shifted that I guess encouraged you or drove you to surf more consistently?
Or just skateboard injuries.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I had a really bad ankle injury skateboarding about 3 years ago, and it just took me out of skateboarding completely for 1.5 years. And then I had a motorcycle accident with my other ankle.
Oh my gosh. No
so I was like crippled. So I wasn't stepping on a skateboard, but then after they like somewhat healed, I was like, all right, I'm going to surf, because the water is definitely a lot gentler on your ankles and everything. So that helped me to surf a lot more consistently, because I was out of skateboarding for a whole 1.5 years. So I was like, I can't skate, so I got to surf. And yeah,
it's a long time.
Yeah,
dang, that was like very serious.
Well, I got hurt and then I stepped back on my board a week later, because so the guys I grew up with were visiting from New Jersey, and they're a bunch of skater dudes, and they haven't seen me skate since I was like probably in high school. And I was like, I'm gonna show you guys I rip, like I can skate so good now, and just got so cocky, and my ankle was like this big, like it was huge. And at first I was just sitting in the chair filming, like I was just like, I'll just watch. And then I was like, no, you can do it, you're fine. Like, cause I'm just, I get adrenaline and I get my head and I'm like, no. But like I literally rolled into a bank and my ankle clicked, and then I was like, oh God. And I was already limping, like a crutch. I I was like, you're rolling on a skateboard, you'll be fine. I don't know what I was thinking. So that put me out, I think, even more. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Lesson here is if you have an injury, don't push it.
No, take your time. Take lots of magnesium. Yes, magnesium helps inflammation a lot.
So this is a good segue.
Yeah.
Taking care of your body.
Yes.
Yoga. How did you pick that up? Like, where did this slot in? You're already doing skating, surfing, video. You somehow just, appeared in San Diego one day.
My neighbor, I had this crazy neighbor. She was wonderful. She was just like one of those people you're like, what?
You're wacky.
But she's she's wonderful. She brought me to indie yoga. And then I started practicing at indie yoga, and I practiced before that a little bit back in New Jersey and stuff. And it definitely clicked with me, just like finding stillness and then a different type of movement. Cause I've always been like kind of a gym girl, and I love working out. I love lifting. I was an athlete in high school and too, but never like really just like had a movement that I found stillness in, you had to hold. So it gave me a lot of time to just like kind of process my thoughts. And just sit with my breath as well. That's why it like really stuck out with me. I had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks in high school and depression. It was mostly seasonal depression. Now looking back from living in California, that's why I'm here. But in New Jersey, it's cold, like 5 months out of the year to 6, maybe, you don't know. So that's how I kind of got into taking care of my body. Because at first I like didn't know what was happening. As I was growing up, I was like, why am I just sad all the time in the winter? And like, you're like also a teenager, growing, developing, and all the things and all the hormones and stuff. And then once I realized like what was happening, and like they tried to prescribe me on medication and all these things, and I'm a very like holistic way of being. I'm not against medication at all. Some people really need it, and I think it's super helpful for certain people. I'm the type of person that kind of likes to deal with things like head on, and like really sit with it and be sad, or, just like really bask in my whatever I need to sit with. So that's like why yoga came to me, kind of, because I got to sit with it and just process it in a safe place. So that's what I really love to like incorporate in my yoga practices for my student as well. Like, what do you need to sit with, and like how can you just be with yourself and take notice of like what's going on, because every day is different, and to have that space where you're not just distracted by movement. Like, movement is wonderful and it really just opens the body up, but to also bring a mindfulness into it as well as your breath, that's like literally carries you through your whole entire life, and how to control it. Because sometimes like even out in the water, you're having a panic attack, you're like, oh, there's a massive wall coming at my face right now, and like you can show up and be super scared, but then you can also like take a breath and you're like, all right, we're going, so that's just like how I kind of stepped into it. And then they invited me to do a teacher training at Indy, and I did it, just became a teacher and just wanted to keep learning and learning and learning. And now here I am, and I'm doing some yoga retreats now and teaching my own training. So
you've been doing a lot.
Yes.
Been very busy.
Yeah.
So you have meetups for radical movement in San Diego and like North County, which is San Diego County. But you also have retreat. So what percentage of the time are you like teaching versus doing community versus retreats? Like, how do you manage all of that?
Yeah. So at first it was a lot on my plate. I'm someone who literally needs to force herself to like slow down a little bit, but like I've grown to notice like to really take care of myself is really important. But basically I teach a few classes a week, and then right now I teach the 200-hour indie yoga. It's a 13-week course for people to learn how to become a yoga teacher with like a Hatha Vinyasa style. And then over the course of the year, with Radical Movement, we have usually at least 1 or 2 skate and surf meetups a month. And as well as we're working on having like bi-monthly beach cleanups as well, clothing swaps. And then with the retreats, right now we just have one out of the country, Sayulita, Mexico. We have one down in Baja, so really close at K38. Super fun waves there and like really less crowded. And then we're planning some road trips actually too.
Oh,
yeah, with the girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, road trip. So this is actually, I feel like almost nobody's doing that.
No, not really.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be a camping trip in Big Sur. So, the plan is, my plan, I haven't told anyone yet, so.
This is the plan.
This is the plan.
This is an exclusive plan. You're hearing it.
Yes. So we have like a bunch of friends up in LA that love to come to the Radical Movement events when we do it in like San Onofre and San Clemente area. But they're up in LA. So our game plan is to like do some meetups along the way to Big Sur, whether it's surfing, skating, a beach cleanup, and then end in Big Sur for 3 days and invite everyone to come up with us. And then just spend 3 days on the mountain and surf at Sand Dollar Beach and just like go hike and stuff with the girls and like maybe do some yoga. So that's one of the plans coming up this spring.
Okay.
So we're super stoked about that.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you have a lot coming up and lots of awesome ideas that you're putting into execution. Mm-hmm. What are you, I guess, right now most excited about that you're working on or working towards?
So I'm wrapping up the process of actually hiring a bunch of new leaders for Radical Movement.
Ooh.
Recently, in the past, I've had like a few girls that have been like just amazing support. But all of us are entrepreneurs and have kind of our own little businesses going on, which is so rad because all being kind of a like-minded community to bounce ideas off, as well as being with women who are super driven as well, that can support me, but also I can support them with like photography or just like input, is super rad. But I was just feeling a need to grow our leadership program. So recently I hired about 9 girls and yeah, I'm so stoked. And they all just have like little different niches too, like some surf, some skate, some are ocean activists. We have like new photographers that we've worked with Radical Movement on like different projects, but really just having a team of creatives as well as our team of like web designers, a team of our nonprofit people who are really good at what they do, because I have so many ideas and I'm the type of person who wants to do everything, but I can't do everything. I try to do everything and people are like, Abigail, ask for help. And I'm like, I'm asking for help now. So, because that's why I'm getting so tired.
Yeah.
So, ask for help. But just like also just finding really awesome people you trust too. So these girls have already been a part of Radical Movement community for the past 2 years. So I know them, They've been at the meetups. A few of them have been on the retreats. So it's like, it's just a family coming together.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, what better than getting to work with people that you're stoked to be around? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the dream.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I got off all the phone calls with everyone. They're like, oh my God, this is happening. And I'm like, yeah, we're doing it.
So awesome.
Yeah.
With hiring new people, how do you envision it changing or scaling or, I don't know, moving the direction of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, so one thing I talked about with like all the girls that's really important for me and Radical Movement is just making sure each girl showing up to a meetup feels included, as well as like creating a safe place, because sometimes we only have one leader and sometimes there's like 30 girls. So having more leaders at the actual meetups is really important for me, to have people who are creating a container for girls who maybe it's their first time showing up to a meetup. And sometimes like I know even for me, like going to a group setting of things, especially with people like you don't know, can be really challenging, and they're just getting out of their comfort zone by showing up. So one of like the main things with just having more leaders is to create that safe place for other girls to like feel safe, feel included at the meetups. So that's number one of just like hiring and taking on more girls. then with all their niches and everything, I think just having more community events, more community outreach, as well as just like educating people on like what we do and like the ocean and taking care of it, or gardening. Like we're going to start doing some more gardening programs and stuff, and just giving back to the earth, as well as like with the nonprofits, finding more ways we can do community outreach, because it's not about us at the end. Like, you know, it's about like helping the people as well as bringing like our community together. So
Okay, that's awesome. So you're kind of creating offshoots from like the core. That's awesome. And how long has Radical Movement been going for?
Just a year.
Just a year?
Yeah.
Wow, it feels like so much longer.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we had our party last year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've made a lot of progress.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
Thanks.
How does that feel?
Sometimes I don't reflect enough, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to keep going and going and going, but it's honestly awesome. Just like, my heart is so full. Like, we had a skate meetup recently at Sunset Cliffs, and there was like 30 girls that rolled up, and it was just so much fun. We were just like bombing a hill, and my heart was so full like after, and just to like, I don't know, just grow like with a community in numbers, and just like, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Honestly. Sometimes I look around at the things that are happening, living in Ocean Beach. It's like people travel from the whole world to come here, and we just get to partake in it, like day in and day out, and create these spaces and bring cool people together. And like, it's awesome to have people in the community who are facilitating that.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, yeah, you get to live by the beach. That's awesome. But like, what is living anywhere without having community around you and like being able to share activities that you love doing? So, thanks. When you started Radical Movement, is that when you started doing retreats, or had you already been doing retreats before that? Or like, how do those play into each other?
So before Radical Movement, actually when I was living back in New Jersey, like I knew I wanted to be a yoga teacher, and I knew I wanted to travel. So like this was like 10 years ago, like just me writing. I have the same piece of paper. My goal is to go to Sri Lanka still. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Sri Lanka and work at this little place called the Sunshine Stories and be a yoga teacher. That was me at 18. Haven't done it yet, but I'm getting there. I think Sri Lanka's coming up on my list. But just being a yoga teacher, like, and wanting to be able to travel. But also like a lot of people want to travel, but just don't, because they like, I don't know, have fear, or like, I don't know, there's things you can do while you're traveling, like you can do all the touristy things, but then also to have like a badass group of girls to go with you, and then also do the things you want to try, you know, like, let's do it, you know, rather than just like staying at a hotel and like doing this and like, you know, like I want to cultivate like that space for people. So actually hosting retreats like was one of like the main things that like why I wanted to do Radical Movement, because I wanted to put like more of a name behind the retreats, as well as the yoga, as well as like the community like aspect, because like retreats are super fun, but then also like keeping it small in the community too, you know. So
I think there is something so important about that, because people like traveling by yourself, people think, oh, I'm going to be really lonely. But then traveling with like a massive group of people, there's so many people that the experience is kind of diluted. And having the more intimate ability to bond with people and like form friendships that actually transcend that particular geographical location that you're having it in is, in my opinion, one of the best reasons, like the best things that you get out of traveling. So being able to do that is really important. I tend to feel a lot of people say that travel is a luxury, but I feel like if you look at what you get out of travel, it's actually kind of a necessity, because it fuels your connectedness to what you love, building relationships and bonds, and like that's your humanness, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can't agree more. Like, that's like what we focus on too, is like when you're going on a retreat with us, yes, we're doing all the fun things, but we're also like, I know that people who want to join these retreats are all on the same mission, is to like relax and create a new sense of community as well as be around women. And then the way like I facilitate too is like, honestly, a lot of stuff might come up, but that's a place where I wanted to come up in a safe place for you to like be able to sit with it too, you know, like we work through a lot, and do a lot of meditation and a lot of like guided heart work, you know. So like that's important for me, because you can go on a trip, you know, and like maybe have something come up but not being able to like navigate it, or I don't know, sometimes people just don't sit with themselves. And it will stay there forever until you sit with it. So
That's true.
I feel like just having this whole experience in the water, on the mat, as well as just like all the hard work too, and eating good food and having fun, is just like, I don't know,
Recipe for magic.
Yeah.
I would tend to think so. I mean, the other cool thing is, how many times in life do you get to go on a trip where you get to surf and do yoga and hang out with badass ladies, and you don't have to do any of the planning?
I know. Yeah, like you just show up.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, because trip planning is like, sometimes just like thinking, I'm like, I want to go there, but I don't want to do any of the things that are required to actually make it happen.
I leave that to my husband.
Yeah. Like, hey, I really want to go here. I'll come back in 3 business days. I will wait for the itinerary. It's not a bad reason to get a husband, if anyone knows of any free husbands lying around.
Or just like find a best friend too that's really good at staying organized. I'm like the creative type, you know, where I'm like, let's go here and I'll take all your pictures.
Yeah.
And then I need like a partner in crime who's like, okay, we're doing this, this, and this. I'm like, all right, I'll be there.
It's so awesome to have that balance. I feel like I normally am like the one that's planning. I'm kind of more of the mom.
Okay.
Just because I'm like, I have had so many things. I normally hurt myself when I travel.
You do too much.
Because I just like go like balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And I need someone to be like, all right, like you can do these things, but like don't overdo it, because hospitals in Sri Lanka maybe aren't that great to experience.
Oh my gosh. What are you doing?
I was in Colombia one time and I had a giant wooden bed frame dropped on my toe.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to have the medics come to where I was staying and like save me. I lost part of my toe and it's fine now, but like I was in the middle of nowhere in Colombia and like there wasn't like a hospital around.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I can't imagine.
Luckily I speak Spanish, so that made that easier, but like, you know, if you don't speak the language and you're somewhere and you just get hurt, you need to like plan ahead.
Yeah, definitely.
So now I plan for that. Crazy
travel insurance.
Yeah. Also just like build in certain things, like if this, I have that prepared, because things happen. Like I got robbed in Bali and that was crazy. But now I travel with 2 phones.
Wow.
Yeah. So you live.
Good to know. Yeah. I'm pretty like on guard. I feel like when I travel, and I keep everything like, I usually just wear a fanny pack and keep it close to me for the most part. Yeah. I do always get like nervous about my camera, like traveling with camera gear too, though. I'm like, keep everything close. But
so what happened in Bali, and some people probably know this story because I posted about it on Instagram. It was very erratic, but I was driving back from Uluwatu to the surf lodge that I was staying at, and I was on my scooter and I had my phone that I was using for GPS. Yeah. And someone drove up next to me and ripped it off while I was going like 50 kilometers per hour. And you like don't know how to react because you're driving. It was also the middle of the night. It was pouring rain.
Oh my goodness.
I was in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And So then eventually it caught up to me. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know how to get to where I'm going. I can't call anyone. I have no money.
Oh my God.
And so it was kind of crazy. And I was, trying everything that I could to, figure it out. But eventually what happened was the Argentinians came to my rescue. They got me a phone.
No.
Connecting with people traveling has saved my ass more than once.
Yeah.
But from that experience now I learned, travel with 2 phones. Also, don't use your phone as GPS when you're driving on a scooter in Indonesia.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I've heard before going to Bali, people are like, make sure you put your purse inside your scooter, don't hold it on you or anything like that. And so I always did that, but I didn't have any problems when I was there. Yeah. Oh.
Honestly, at the end of the day, I'm super lucky. I'm alive. All that happened was my phone got stolen.
Material.
Whatever.
Things,
I lost all my pictures, but that's fine.
Oh.
Also, lesson learned, back up your iCloud.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So it was very jarring, but now I've kind of learned, and I don't fault anyone. Someone did tell me that was a common thing that happened there. And I didn't get hurt. So ultimately, I still came out on top. But it's just things like that where if you have someone planning your travel for you, you don't have to worry about that because you already know what could happen. Someone's watching out. So that's another reason why going on a retreat is cool, because it kind of takes all of that out of it and you get to just have the fun.
Yeah, you can just be present. Yeah. Oh.
So yeah.
Sorry that happened.
Honestly, it's a story.
Yeah.
And in the time that it happened, I definitely would not be it's whatever. I was very shook up, but I didn't get hurt and I'm alive, I'm living, I have this story to tell, and I can tell other people travel with 2 phones.
Yeah.
Don't do what I did.
Oh my gosh.
So that's part of the growing through experiences, you get to sit in this crazy thing and take something out of it. So now I'm here to tell YouTube about it.
2 phones.
2 phones, everyone. If there's anything you take away from this. If your retreat that you have coming up in March, it's in Sayulita. Tell us about what's going on with that.
Yeah, so this March we're going to Sayulita, Mexico. It's about 40 minutes north of Puerto Vallarta. And basically it's just going to be a girl gang going there for 1 week. I rented out a beautiful private villa. It is the nicest place I've ever stayed in my life.
Wow.
It's so fancy. Wow. And yeah, we have a private yoga deck overlooking the ocean, and I absolutely just love waking up and teaching yoga there. It's so cool. And during Shavasana, you're just hearing the waves crash because the ocean is right there. And then say we do a little workout. We had one day last year, we did this crazy little Pilates workout that I planned for them. And then we all just ran in the ocean after because it's right there, which was so fun. And so we'll be staying there and we'll be doing daily surf. So 3 days we'll have instructional surf for people who need more instruction, as well as me and 2 other girls will be out in the water giving more critiques for the people who are maybe just sitting on the board wrong or need to paddle sooner and stuff. So we'll be with the girls watching them surf, as well as just helping them get into waves or just having the best time ever. But it's really fun. We have a bunch of surf excursions planned out, jungle hikes, a boat trip to this rad little surf spot that's super remote and just a few people there. So it's really sick.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I absolutely just can't wait to surf in a bikini.
Yes, the water's
so cold. Yeah, and the waves are so rad. They're super gentle and really nice for beginner, intermediate, and everything. So yeah, I'm super stoked for that.
That's so cool. When did you get to San Diego from the East Coast? How long have you been over here?
I moved out when I was 18.
Okay, so you've been here for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. And over the course of your time being here, did you start doing yoga right away when you got here, or what did your transition ramp up into what you're doing now look like?
So at first I just came out for school, and I was going to school for fashion design, and I was loving fashion design, but then I also needed a job while I was in school. So I started working at a restaurant just because that's like what I knew, and it's really good money and stuff. But then also I was like, I don't know if I just like want to work at a restaurant. Like I kind of want to make money and like do something that I am stoked about and passionate about too, you know? So like at the same time, it was when some of the studio owners were like, you should try like to do our teacher training. And teacher training, honestly, it is a pretty penny. It's definitely an investment in yourself. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm a college student. Like I was like, I'm paying for college. I don't know how I'm supposed to do a teacher training on top of that. Yeah. So I talked to them, and I was already cleaning the studio for them once a week. And that's how I had like a trade with them to have a free membership at the studio so I could practice and everything. So I talked to them, and they actually offered me just like a discounted rate, which was super, super helpful because I was just not at a place that I could afford it. And honestly, it was just like so impactful. There were so many guest speakers and facilitators that just I still look up to now. And so I started teaching probably in 2018. I moved out here 2016, started teaching 2018, and then I've just been teaching ever since. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So now you're doing like basically everything that you set your intentions on.
Yeah. I definitely, so to be honest, like I didn't finish school. I love fashion design. But then I was like, I don't know if I'm like the vibe for fashion design. Just because everyone in my class was like super Gucci and like I'm like a grungy surfer girl, like, you know. Which I love clothes, like don't get me wrong, I love clothes, I love fashion and just styling and everything. So I was like, okay, well maybe I'll do architecture. Like my dad was built like custom built homes when I was younger. So I was like, I love building things and just like anything I could do with my hands. I love just making things. That's why I liked fashion design. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to build houses. And then I was like, okay, you're going to be an art student. So I started taking art classes, and then I was like, okay, well, you're just basically doing so many different things, and I don't know what I should be going to school for. But I mean, the OG plan was to be a holistic medicine doctor. I wanted to be a naturopathic doctor. And then I dropped out of school. So I'm not a school person. I love learning. I love learning, but I'm a very hands-on learner. So to take all the science classes were really challenging. I just took them. Those were my G's I had to take anyway. And it was super challenging for me. So I was like, all right, I don't know if like school is my route. And my husband is also an artist, and he is just very supportive of like going after your dreams. Like I'm already a very driven person, but I also kind of got stuck in that mindset, and I still feel it sometimes to this day. I'm like, oh dang, like I didn't finish school. Like what would my life look like if I had gone to school and finished, and like maybe we're making those paychecks of like more of a 9-to-5 job. But honestly, like I am so grateful like for what I have built. I have a lot of flexibility and freedom in my schedule of like being able to be on a photo shoot one day, like modeling, go teach a yoga class, teach my yoga classes weekly, run a social media account, and then also have like community events, and then go travel with a group of girls on a retreat, you know, like I really built what I wanted to do. And that's like my biggest thing of what I want to encourage other people to do is like, don't be scared. Like life is so short, and you can sit and live in your fear, or you can go after the things you want. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a lot of hustle. And I know there's a lot of stigma about hustling, of like, hustling is great, but also like hustling is a balance, you know, like there's times and seasons where you can hustle, but there's also times you need to retreat and kind of slow down too and take care of yourself. So I think that's super important if you're going to go after what you want to go after. But I highly recommend doing it.
Yeah. I feel like with anything that you do, at the beginning, you kind of have to hustle. Like you're learning and it's a lot.
Yeah.
But you have to do kind of a lot of things to get everything acclimated in order to become, I wouldn't say an expert, but like proficient at it. So there is almost like a necessity to hustle, but it's not for the sake of like being busy or like, you know, achieving material things, but it's to go after what you want and get to a place where like you have like assimilated all of the information and then you don't have to hustle so much.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm still at the place where I feel like I'm kind of hustling sometimes a lot too, but it's also just a way of like, like learning and growing, you know, because like you are building everything yourself for the most part, you know? So it's like, you're not just showing up to a job where it's already built out for you, like you're cultivating and building that. So definitely getting support with other people is super helpful. Not trying to do it on your own, but sometimes there are things, and financially, sometimes you just can't, you know? So like really just supporting yourself the best that you can.
Yeah, I guess, what are some of the biggest challenges that you encountered while starting your business and trying to manage all of the disparate things that you're doing?
Getting enough sleep. To be honest.
Yeah.
Getting enough sleep and well, I mean, at first, like leading, it's just like a passion project right now. So like Radical Movement, like isn't really like any of the community events, like it's all free, you know, like I'm just showing up for my time and everything. And hopefully like I have a bigger picture for the future, like with more retreats and stuff and like space holding, you know? So it's really just like all passion. I think just like my biggest thing is asking people for help. I'm definitely kind of a perfectionist in the way I like to do things.
Yeah.
So I'm learning just to let go of the reins, and I'm really excited now that I've kind of like worked on myself a little bit and I know what I'm really strong at. And that way the areas that I'm not as strong, I can kind of give those reins to other people and they can really just support me and I can support them and grow in that way. So
yeah, that's such an important lesson because you can do more of what you like and excel and give someone else that opportunity also to do that because they're doing the same.
Yeah.
How have you found it, like in kind of moving from trying to do everything perfectly and doing everything yourself to working with other people? Has it been kind of a smooth transition or?
Yeah, like with Radical Movement, I've had like things in the past where I haven't had smooth transitions, you know, with certain people. I think it's just finding people you really trust is like the most important, being transparent with people of like expectations. And yeah, I can't complain like receiving help. The girls that I have on board like as leaders are so rad. Like they are always down to help. They're down to be there when they can. And yeah, I can't say enough.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you had any advice for someone who wants to do one or two or three of the things, any of the things that you're doing, what advice would you give someone?
Don't be scared to be bad at it. That's the biggest thing, because like when you're starting anything, surfing, skating, photography, a company, there's always a learning curve, and just because you're not where you want to be at first doesn't mean you won't get there. You know, you can't climb a staircase without taking the first step. So you have to take the first step, and I think that's just like that's what I recommend. It's just trying, you know. And also if like something doesn't feel right, like you're like, I thought I wanted this, but then it's not feeling right, sit with it, try it again. And if it really doesn't feel right, maybe it's not for you. Like sometimes like the mentality is like, oh, I started this and now I have to finish. You should definitely try to finish things, but if it really isn't sitting well, like you're not having peace about it, then like fuck it. Like, like you want to be filling your life energetically with things that like really make you feel alive. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So
It's okay, I curse on the show.
yes, definitely. It's really hard not to. And you know what they say? The people who swear are like the smart ones. So we're basically geniuses.
Here we are.
When you go on a trip and you have to fly, who is your ride to the airport?
My dog. No, I'm joking.
I wish. That'd be awesome.
I have a 95-pound pit bull at home, and she's the biggest lap dog. Aww. She comes with me on the ride, though, but my husband will take me. Us three, we always go together, and they drop me off. Yeah. Yeah.
So she's at the steering wheel like, hey,
no, she literally is. I'm like driving. Usually I always book like the 4 a.m. flight for some reason because I'm crazy. I'm like, oh, I can go to sleep once I get on the plane, you know? And then I'm getting there, lugging my surfboard bag. I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
but she's always my lap dog while I'm driving and getting there. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that is all I have for you today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I'd love to connect with you guys. If you want to follow us on Instagram, Radical Movement Collective, come surf, skate, hike. Let's do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.